A lot of emerging leaders are promoted into leadership without any kind of training on how to deliver criticism to their employees. Some people might deliver it in a way that is too authoritative, leaving their employees scared or resentful. Other people might deliver it in a way that is not firm enough, making their employees think that it's okay to continue that behavior. In my 12 plus years working with emerging leaders, I think that delivering criticism or constructive criticism is probably one of the most challenging tasks that people face. So in this video, I want to break down how to do it. I want to share my tips on how to deliver criticism to your employees. And at the end of this video, I'm going to share examples on how you can do it in a way that is confident as well as empathetic when you need to be. When going into a conversation where you have to deliver criticism to somebody, it really helps to set the intention first. If you don't, you risk going off the emotions that you're feeling in that moment, and you might get too angry and respond in a very scary way, or you might cave in and you might not be as firm as you should be. I think the stress of actually having to give criticism to somebody else can make people respond in different ways. So it really helps to set the intention first, especially if you want to solidify the way that you respond and the way that you communicate when you're giving that criticism to your employee. I think the intention you set depends on the action that employee performed and also the personality that employee has. Because if that employee made a critical mistake that cost the company thousands of dollars, then that might require a higher level of firmness in the way that you deliver criticism than if they committed a mistake that was insignificant. Similarly, if that employee has a personality that is headstrong, that is stubborn, and that is often defensive, then that might require a level of firmness as well that is higher than if they had a personality where they were sensitive or easily upset. So what I'm saying here is you as a leader, you really need to be aware of the best way to deliver criticism to your employees, and you really need to set the intention first. When you're in that conversation, when you're delivering criticism, it's important that you address the issue, not the person. At the end of this video, I'll give you some examples of what this actually looks like, but for now, I want to explain why this is important. So think about how your employee is going to feel in that moment when you are delivering criticism to them. Sometimes they might feel upset, they might be scared, they might be worried about losing their job, because in reality, you have to realize that you do have that kind of power over that person. They might be angry or defensive because they don't like criticism and they don't take criticism very well at all. Or they might be eager to find out what you have to say about their work. They might enjoy getting this kind of feedback, and they might be eager to improve how they do their job. Most people will fall into categories 1 or 2, but there are some who do fall into this third category. And it is a lot easier to interact and to deliver criticism to these types of people. So taking into account all of these different reactions that people could have when you deliver criticism, it is best to focus on the issue and not on the person. Because when you focus on the person and you say something like, "You did a terrible job on this project," well, that's when people get hurt. That's when people get offended. That's when people get defensive. And what do? They will put up a block. They will put up a block so that your message and what you have to say about the way that they are performing that task will not get through to that person. Whereas when you focus on the issue, including the action and also the consequences, you detach the thing or the action from the actual person. And this makes it a lot easier for that person to hear that criticism. They'll be a lot more open to hearing what you have to say, and hopefully a lot more eager to change the way that they do things in the future. For example, instead of saying, like I did a minute ago, "You did a terrible job on this project," you should say, "I think this project could do with more attention to detail." Do you see how taking the person away from the criticism that you're delivering or the feedback that you're delivering, it makes it a lot easier for that person to take. It doesn't sound or feel like you are attacking that person. What you're focusing on is the issue that was done, the action that was performed, and not the person. And I think this will result in that person being a lot more cooperative with you when you actually deliver that criticism. Another area that you need to focus on when you deliver criticism is to be specific and not vague. This is actually important in any type of feedback that you deliver, whether it is positive feedback or not so positive feedback. So why is being vague when you deliver criticism such a bad thing? Well, if you're too vague, people will not know what they have done wrong. They won't be clear on what you're actually giving them feedback about. If they're not clear about it and they don't know what they've done wrong, then they're very unlikely to change that behavior in the future. If they don't change that behavior in the future, then they will just continue doing that same thing you're giving them negative feedback on because they think that it's okay to do so. This might make you angrier as a leader because you're thinking to yourself, well, I've already told this person that they shouldn't be doing that task this way. They should change their behavior. But in reality, that's not what has actually happened. You've delivered feedback in a vague way, but not a clear enough way for that person to actually know or understand what they have done wrong. So they're continuing that behavior. Meanwhile, you are getting upset because you think you have delivered that criticism in a clearer way, but in fact you have not. So when it comes to giving feedback of any kind, whether it's positive or negative feedback, being as specific as you can will make it much easier for you as the leader because you are more likely to only have to deliver that feedback just once because that person will understand the very first time that you do it. And it also makes it easier for the receiver of that feedback because they will immediately know what they have done wrong. They will immediately know the consequences of that action and also, hopefully, if you've done it right, how to fix that action in the future, how to improve the task that they perform. So instead of saying, I think you need to improve your work, you should be specific and say, I think this report could do with a couple of reviews before you submit it. After you have clearly and specifically told that person what they have done wrong, then you need to quickly move to the resolution. And this is where you are really stepping into your role as a leader because you are guiding, you are coaching, and you're motivating that person toward an action that you want them to take. Some people forget to suggest ways to improve. I think it's because they're so stressed in the moment. Once they have delivered that criticism and told that person what they have done wrong, they stop there. But if you really want to help that person change, if you really want to help that employee improve the way they do things in their job, then you really need to remember to teach them what to do instead and how to do the task that you want them to do. This might include outlining the process you want that person to follow. This could be a relatively simple step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 that you teach that person. This could be done verbally in that meeting, and that employee might walk away and be able to do it just fine on their own, but they may also require you to be with them to perform that task, all of those steps just once or maybe twice to make sure that they do it properly. In other situations, it may require a conversation between you and that employee where you need to discuss together the best way that you both think the task should be done in the future. This is helpful when there's really no set resolution, when the issue or the problem that you're discussing has no set procedure or steps that are involved, and you really need to invent something on the spot. So you might want to have a conversation with that person so you both have input into how things should be done in the future. Now let's move on to some examples so you can get an idea of how you should be delivering criticism in the right way. In this first example, the situation is the employee you are going to deliver criticism to has sent out a proposal to a potential client, but they have put the legally binding contract price of $10,000 onto the proposal instead of $100,000. This is a big difference, a big mistake. The employee that you have to deliver criticism to, they are headstrong, they are stubborn, they do not like to receive criticism or negative feedback at all. They often get defensive and they will reject your feedback. So this is what you should say when you're delivering criticism to this person and also for this kind of mistake that they have made. John, the proposal that was sent out to client X had a serious mistake in it. The price was $10,000 inside that proposal instead of $100,000. Because of this difference, we are now legally committed to providing our services to that client for $10,000. This is a $90,000 loss for the company. Can you explain how this mistake was made? Okay, going forward, I would like to review every proposal before they are sent out. I think this is a really good way to minimize this kind of mistake from happening in the future. Okay, so the key points you need to note here in the way that I delivered feedback to this person were, first, I set the intention for the conversation. I knew that this person was headstrong. I knew that they were stubborn. They didn't like feedback. So I set the intention of being firm in the way that I actually delivered feedback to that person. I did this by using their name. I did this by using words like serious mistake, legally committed, and $90,000 loss. All of these terms or words that I used are quite strong, so they really helped me to deliver that criticism in a way that was clear and was also firm for that other person to hear and to receive, so that there was no miscommunication, or so that there was no confusion as well. The second thing I did was I focused on the issue and not on the person. And I did this by focusing on the incorrect amount that was put in the proposal, not on the person or John himself who actually wrote the proposal. I never said anything like, you are incompetent, you made a stupid mistake. Nothing like that. I focused instead on the issue that was, or the problem or the mistake that was actually committed. At the start of the conversation, I quickly and clearly outlined the problem that we are facing. And then I quickly moved on to the repercussions of the problem so that person could clearly understand the reason why that problem was such a bad thing. I also opened up a conversation midway through the feedback I was giving to find out how that problem mistake actually happened. This isn't something that I've talked about in this video, that I've taught you in this video, but it is a helpful technique to use when you really want to find the best solution to the problem that you're facing. And the last thing that I did was I quickly moved on to the solution and I suggested a solution myself. I didn't want this to be a two-way conversation between the employee and myself. I wanted to suggest what I thought was the best way to handle this issue moving forward. In the second example, the situation is this. You have an employee who has low productivity. They complete tasks much slower than other people in the team, and this is costing the company a lot of money. This employee is fairly new to the job. They are shy, they are reserved, and they don't really communicate much at work. So this is what you could say when you want to give feedback or criticism to this person. Sarah, I've noticed that you don't perform tasks as quickly as what we would normally expect from our employees. I know that you are new to the job and you probably have some hesitations about how to perform these tasks, but I want you to know that we hired you because we really believe in your ability, and I know that you can meet our expectations in terms of how fast you perform these tasks. So I was wondering if you could share some insights into what is holding you back here. Okay, I think if we paired you with Julie for a week and you shadow her and she can coach you on how to perform the tasks in the future, this might help to speed up the way that you perform tasks. Does this sound okay to you? So here, in the way that I've delivered this feedback, I have done 4 things. First, I have set the intention that I want the feedback to be clear, and I also want to be empathetic and kind in the way that I delivered that feedback. And I did this by using that person's name in a kind way, not a firm way. I also did this by using language such as, I understand you are new to the job, or you might have some hesitations about how to perform these tasks. Using this kind of language really softened the way that I delivered the feedback and made it a lot easier for that person who is shy and reserved to take that feedback that I was giving them. I also opened up the conversation to find out why that person wasn't performing the tasks as quickly as other people. Perhaps there was a legitimate reason. Maybe they didn't really understand what they were supposed to do. Maybe they were overloaded at work. They had too much to do and they weren't handling it very well at all, and they couldn't focus on the tasks that they had in front of them. So really finding out why somebody isn't performing as you would like is very, very helpful when you want to find a solution. I also help that employee feel valued in the team, and I did this by saying, I want you to know that we hired you because we believe in your ability. This is something that, again, I did not mention in this video, but when you use language such as this, when you use encouraging language to really let people know that they are valued, it does help them take that feedback a lot easier because they know that they are a valued person in the team, that you don't intend on firing them. You really want to help them improve, and you really want to help them grow as an employee and as an individual as well. At the end of this conversation, I did suggest a solution. I didn't tell that employee, this is what we need to do. I suggested that she could work with Julie for about a week and shadow her. And that way I opened up the conversation for that person to say, yes, I think that's a good idea, or no, I don't think that would really help me much at all. Now, this third example is something that I want you to answer yourself in the comments below. And this is a situation that you are facing. You have an employee who is always late to work. This is disrupting the team's productivity because other people need to rely on this person. They have been at the company for a couple of years, but they have been going through a hard time personally for the last 2 months. They are not stubborn nor particularly sensitive to criticism or feedback. You need to have a conversation with this person about this issue. What do you say? I look forward to seeing all of your answers to this issue in the comments below. I want you to tell me how you would deliver feedback to this person. Try to use the tips that you have learned in this video. You can also incorporate things of your own that you think would help deliver that feedback to that person. So I look forward to seeing all of your answers in the comments below. Now, if you are a channel member, then I will probably do some kind of activity around delivering feedback. So if you are a channel member, then make sure you check out the channel membership page for the activity that I will do around this. If you are not yet a channel member and you're curious about it, or you want to become one, then take a look at the link in the description below, because that will lead you to a video for the channel membership page that will teach you more. The next video I recommend you to watch is people skills for leadership success. People skills are so important for leaders to have, so I think you should watch that video next. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that it will help you deliver feedback the next time you have to do it at work, and I will see you next week in another video.